Welcome to Kick 'em in the Head, a podcast that takes an inside look at the world of mixed martial arts, featuring interviews with some of the top fighters from South Africa and around the world, with a focus on the EFC and UFC promotions. I'm your host, Yaw. Join us as we delve deep into the techniques, strategies, and mindsets of these world-class athletes, learning from their experiences and gaining insights into what it takes to succeed in the toughest sport on earth.
Shahid.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Yow, my homie!
We are really excited today at Team CIT. We have our first guest on the show. Please introduce yourself.
What's up, guys? I'm Stephan Stephan DQ Delaray, EFC featherweight contender. Good to be here, guys.
Oh, it's awesome to have you, my man. And now for the people that don't know, you are a social media sensation coming out of Team CIT, doing your awesome instructional videos, partnering up with Cameron sometimes to talk in his podcast. Can you give us a little bit of insight into why you're going into the social media side of MMA?
Well, I think if you're not doing it, we're in an industry where we have this unique skill set and knowledge. And I think firstly, it's important to share that knowledge for different reasons. Firstly, to grow the sport and to grow the industry in South Africa as a whole. And secondly, is to learn more. That's my biggest thing, is that the day that I stop learning, I'll retire immediately, because what's the point then?
You're never going to retire.
I'm going to be that old man. I'm going to be on the undercard when my son is main eventing still. I'm going to be that guy.
You'll be the oldest champion like Glover Teixeira.
Yes, for sure. I don't know about champion, but I'll still be fighting, my man.
That's awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about the layoff and the injury and how that's affected you?
Yeah, like beginning of the year, I had a bit of a freak accident. I tore my rib off my sternum, and then I also broke the rib. The prognosis was about 10 weeks. 10 weeks came and went, wasn't better. Another 10 weeks, didn't get better. So I was in this mentality all year of I just got to stay busy and stay ready and stay fit. So as soon as I'm ready, I can jump back in there. Now we're 7 months down the line, and for the first time, I can wrestle and grapple full speed without any mental or physical issues with the rib. So that was quite a challenging time. But as I said, mentally, I wasn't getting demotivated, because in my mind, I'm going to be ready in 2 weeks. And I've been feeling that way since January. And I just kept that mentality, man. So I've been grinding, I've been working whatever I can around the injury. So I feel good. It's healed now. And I'm ready to get back in there as soon as possible.
Now, we're here at Team CIT, and you're with Team CIT, and we know that it's a world-class PI. How is being with Team CIT, having a doctor on site and having all these facilities helped with the recovery from the injury?
No, it's crazy. I would be retired if it wasn't for the team we have and the people looking after us. We've got Dr. Gerard Vosloo at Monument that looks after us like we're his children. We call him anytime and say, hey, doc, there's an issue, and he sorts it out immediately. The USN sponsor that we have, that they're looking after us like family as well, with all the nutrition stuff sorted. It's such a big stress on an athlete financially to get the right nutrition and get the right medical staff and all of that. And we don't have to worry about that at all. So shout out Monument and USN for looking after us and keeping us whole. Without them, I wouldn't be here and be ready for another role,
Woo! And in such a short space of time. I mean, a broken rib, 7 months, that's nothing. That's no time at all.
Man, it wasn't just a broken rib, it was tendonitis, and it was this and it was that. I'm very passionate about coaching, and it's a difficult lifestyle to maintain, to be a full-time fighter and a coach. I spend a lot of times on the mats. I hold a lot of pads. A lot of small niggles come with that, and I put my body under a lot of strain with both aspects of my life, coaching and fighting. So, it's a few things that needed to get sorted, but it's all sorted now. And 7 months is nothing, man. It's in the bigger picture. If you look back at a career, taking a 7-month break to make sure, well, it wasn't a break. I was still working, I was training every day, training 3 times a day, every day. But in the bigger picture, that's such a small fraction of your career. And I wasn't going to let myself get down. And that's a message to any fighter out there. I know when you get injured, it feels like the end of the world. It feels like your life is done. It feels like your career is done. My man, a 6-month layoff, a 7-month layoff in the bigger picture is such a small part of the whole career. So you got to look at the bigger picture and not at the moments, you know?
That's really beautiful words, and thank you for that inspiration for all the fighters out there. I think the biggest thing about it is the mental aspect that you spoke about. How, as a fighter, do you protect your mentality and your mental mindset?
That's something that I feel gets neglected by athletes a lot. You know, the mental side of fighting is huge. You're locking yourself in a cage with another trained man trying to rip your head off. If you do not, the amount of time that you spend on preparing physical preparation, you got to spend the same amount of time on mental preparations. And you have to have someone helping you. We're not taught about how you know, psychology works. And it's a big thing. It's something that in the new age of our sport, it's something that's being talked about. It's something that we understand. We need a mental coach. We need someone to help and guide you that understands the struggles, that understands the anxiety, that understands all the pressure of going into a fight. And it's been neglected, I feel, for so many years by so many coaches and so many athletes. I'm really happy to see that's a talking point now these days. And it's something you have to spend time on. It's something you have to train it just like any other skill. You have to spend time on getting your mentality right, on keeping that mentality. And, you know, people say, yeah, you got to stay motivated. You're not going to be motivated all the time. That's not the point.
That's not how that works.
It's not how it works. It's easy to get up and get that graft in when you're motivated. The question is, what are you going to do the day when you're not motivated and you see you've got 3 sessions booked and 6 hours of work and holding pads for 3 hours? Are you going to be a man, get up and do what you need to do, or are you going to slack? So motivation has nothing to do with it. It's discipline. It's do what you need to do to get to the next level. It's as simple as that.
I think the impact of what you're saying is amazing, and thank you so much. Yeah, do you just want to have one more question there?
Yes. So EFC 96, you fought against Dembasek.
Yeah.
How was it having that head kick just miss you? Because that was amazing. It was basically Cabrera kick off the ground. How was that?
In the moment, I didn't even realize. I was like, "Hey, this guy!" I thought my hand would have been up there, and then I watched the video back, and I saw no, I almost died. You know, it felt like a baseball bat swinging over my head, man. Like in the moment, as I said, after a fight, I go home and I don't sleep at all. I watch that fight over and over, and back to the mentality is I get myself into a mental space that 2 hours after the fight, I don't recognize that guy. So I go back home and I watch the fight and I can't believe that's me. Can't believe that I got myself in that mentality, ready to die, ready to kill, to get in there. So looking back at it, I was like, holy shit, I almost died there, you know? Like, and I watched it over and over, and everyone comes up to me and is like, yo, if that thing landed, you would have lost that fight. I said, no, my man, if that thing landed, I wouldn't be here. I'd probably still asleep somewhere. So that was in the moment, wasn't a big deal to me. I just say, oh, he missed. He's giving me his back. Let's jump on it. Yes. Looking back at it, it was crazy. If he dropped that kick with a couple of inches, would have hit me on the temple and it would have been game over.
That's beautiful. I think that's a thing a lot of people don't realize. Like us as the audience, we see things and we think, oh no, move in, lock your legs, do some, you know, like we see that from the outside. But inside, as a fighter, I don't think people actually realize what it's like. Could you give us a little bit of a description what it feels like in the cage actually fighting?
That's a very good question, and that's something that changes over your career when you get more comfortable and you have more experience and you spend more time in there. I remember when I started out as an amateur, like I started fighting to deal with anxiety, to force myself into that situation and face your fears. And it was the most nerve-wracking thing in the world. I remember walking out and thinking, can I just leave? Can I just not go into the cage, walk around it, go out the door, get in my car and go home? It's fine. And then when you get in there and they lock the cage, I'm like, fuck, I could have left, you know, and now I'm in here and it's locked now. And then it's, you know, you really get to know yourself in there. You know, your decision making, your composure. The biggest question we ask ourselves as fighters, are you one of the weak or are you one of the strong? And that's where you really get to know yourself. later on in my career, when I got I wasn't spending a lot of time back then on preparing mentally, where now I've got that down. And I mean, that Demba Sek fight specifically, I walked in there with a lot of adversity. I had, a lot of things going on, a lot of small things going on that was, I thought, this isn't great walking into a fight like that. And then I think it was a minute and a half in, I kicked him on his knee and I burst the ligament in my foot. So I didn't have a right foot for the whole fight. But I was just so content, and I realized, hey, man, this is my job. The normal person that goes to work and has a 60% day at work has a 60% day at work, and they go home and they have another day. If I have a 60% day at work, I might just get really, really hurt. But then back to the mentality, this is my job. There's a reason why I get paid to be here and other people pay to watch. So you have to get in that mentality and say, it's time to work, man. So with more experience and more time in there, you get more composed, you see more things, your decision-making gets better. But that's something that takes a bit of time, especially when you move up to the pros and it's suddenly a bigger cage, bigger lights, tougher opponents, smaller gloves, no shin pads. That's a mental thing. It doesn't really change anything, but it's for your mind, it's this huge, crazy change. There's cameras in your face. We don't come through the amateur ranks having this. It's a lot better now. The guys are getting more exposure. Back when I was amateur, I was fighting in high school halls and warming up with my opponent next to me who didn't make weight with 7.5 kilos. So they're getting a bit more comfortable, and I think the transition in these days into the pro scene is a lot easier, than it was back then. With the exposure the guys are getting and promotions like Versus that are looking after them and giving them TV time, camera time, and all of those things. But it's different for every guy in there. It used to be the most nerve-wracking thing in the world, and now it is the only thing I want to do. It's the only place I feel at home. When I walk in there and that cage locks, it's my favorite thing in the world. And it's not about winning or losing to me. Obviously, winning is one of the most important things, but it's about testing myself and getting to know myself a little bit better and pushing the limits a little bit more and, pushing a little bit harder and seeing who am I really. That's what it's about to me.
That's incredibly inspiring.
Very inspiring. Stephan, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you guys for coming through. I'm a big fan. And,
Right.
I'm a big fan.
We really appreciate that.
No, of course, man. You guys do a great job. And thank you for bringing some light and some exposure to us, guys. It means a lot to us.
Where can people find you? What are your social media handles?
My social media handles are Instagram. It's Stephan_DLR for Delaray. TikTok is the same. That's where you can find me. I'm stepping up the social media game a little bit, trying to get more content out there, get some more exposures. Especially there's a bunch of stuff coming out with my amateur team, how we prepare them, the mental side of that, going to events and seeing the emotions that these guys go through and how we as coaches manage it.
Wow.
So I'm excited to get that out to you guys and see how it looks.
Beautiful journey. We would love to see it. And when it is out, please send us all the links. We are sharing it, guys.
Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe.
because you're going to see it here. Ooh, I love it.
Shahid, what's the best way to end an interview?
I have no idea, yeah. Stephan, do you know?
Yeah, I think I know.
I love it. Let's give it one. Kick him in the head.